McCarthy Insurance Group, serving the community for over 70 years. For home, farm, motor, life, health and business insurance, log on to mig.ie or free phone 1800 50 11 11. Probably your best call in 2024. Charles McCarthy Insurance is trading as McCarthy Insurance Group, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Real people, real opinions, real talk radio. The multi-award-winning Niall Boylan Show.
Hi, how are you?
Well, Sarah, lots happening, by the way. The community in Farranree have pulled together so a 17-year-old in the area suffering from an inoperable cancer can obtain some treatment that she needs abroad. Now, here we go. The Irish are just wonderful when they come together like this to help other people out, aren't they?
And this is a perfect example. So this week I had the privilege of speaking with a mum who will have to leave her two youngest children behind in order to obtain life-saving treatment for her 17-year-old daughter in Holland. So this story served as a reminder of how decent and old school the people of the north side in Cork are. While many areas in Cork have lost that personal touch, Farranree is as tight-knit as ever. So this is certainly the case in teenager Caitlin back in the situation. She has the whole of Farranree supporting her in her fight against an inoperable cancer. They've even set up a GoFundMe, which I'm sure so many people in Ireland will want to get on board for once they hear her story.
Yeah.
So efforts have ramped up now to raise funds for Caitlin. She received the devastating news last September that the rare cancer she battled 3 years previously, it's known as paraganglioma, so that's returned. And she has two younger siblings, and they're Caden and Danielle. Danielle is 12, as far as I know, and Caden's only 5. And Laura's mother and father, her dad is Stephen, by the way.
Yeah.
They're going to have to leave their children behind for a while in Cork.
I'm assuming they get some relations or something. Yeah, I was going to say they get some relations to look after them for. And how long are they going to be gone for again?
That's the thing. So they're going to go over and assess the situation. See, they won't know how much treatment Caitlin needs until they get over there. So they'll wait and see how she responds to it, and then make the decision of whether they should bring the kids over, whether the kids should follow over, or what to do next. But I think what's really nice about this story is we're seeing GoFundMes and everything's gone digital. But Caitlin's mum was saying that in her case, that so many people were actually coming and knocking on their door. That's Farranree for your real old school. So they were knocking on the door with donations, and everyone knows Laura from the post office, and they just seem like a really nice family who have an impact on everybody they meet. And Caitlin herself, she just sounds so unbelievably strong, and nothing seems to take a tack out of her. Her mum was saying that sometimes she has to tell herself, I have to be as strong as Caitlin, and that's her reminder to herself all the time. And there was one nice incident she recalled, just bursting into tears about the situation and not knowing what's happening next.
Well, hopefully there's a good end result to that. How much have they raised? How much have they raised so far, did you say?
Oh, do you know what? I must look for an update.
But the figure is going up and up, and if anybody wants to donate, of course you'll find it on their GoFundMe page. I'm sure you can search it out on GoFundMe.
Yeah, absolutely. Caitlin actually said she told her mum as a consolation. She said, just think of it as a holiday now. We'll make the best of it. Isn't that lovely, going over for treatment for inoperable cancer? And she's telling her mother to think of it as a holiday. I think that's so sweet. And
so many people need to do that, of course, because obviously our resources are limited in this country, and we see so many people going over for cancers or for disabilities or whatever it happens to be, to have them done in other countries. And sometimes it's just a matter of getting a second opinion. And so many children in particular have had their lives changed by going abroad for these kind of operations or different types of operations. Well, look, there's a great story as well. Pictures drawn by children in a Ukrainian bomb shelter are being displayed in St. Peter's on North Main Street. Now, this is an art exhibition, I assume, is it?
Yeah. It's and I think it's a absolutely wonderful idea, because it really gives us a window into the worlds and minds of children, because children all over the world, they're the same, and with this exhibition in particular, what's really nice about it is it's so accessible. We might not be able to understand the language, but we can look at a picture and it can touch anyone in any part of the world. Someone who can't read, they can look at a picture and
of course
recognize its beauty. And what's really even heartbreaking about this exhibition is the simplicity of it. We look at pictures and these look the same as a picture any Irish child might do, but they take on a much deeper meaning and significance. For instance, there's a picture of a sunflower done by a little girl, and I looked at it and I thought, oh, lovely, nice little flower. Children, they're always drawing flowers. Mm-hmm. But do you remember the story of the sunflower seeds? The woman handing the sunflower seeds.
Oh, I do vaguely remember that story. Yes, of course, yes.
Yeah. So for anyone who hasn't heard that story, a woman handed some sunflower seeds to a soldier and said, put these sunflower seeds in your pocket, so at least that when you die, we'll have sunflowers. So something good to come out of a bad thing. So
one can only imagine in a child's mind. Imagine being in a bomb shelter at 5 or 6 years of age or 7 years of age or whatever it happens to be. One could only imagine the horror those children must have seen, and that must have a devastating and traumatic effect on them for the rest of their lives, because it's something they'll never ever forget.
Yeah, one of the ladies who's organising it there, Natalia, she's organising it with a group of other Ukrainians, and what she was saying to me was that she had such a happy childhood in Ukraine, mm-hmm. and her mother still held on to every picture she had, and she looks at her pictures and she has fond memories, and she's so happy to look at her pictures. But she was saying, I'm not sure how these children in years to come will feel looking at their pictures. Will they even be able to look at these pictures, given the negative emotions they're going to elicit?
Absolutely. And I'm looking at this other story. Now, I've heard of the Olympics, I've heard of the Commonwealth, I've heard of the Special Olympics, I've heard of the Paralympics, I've heard of all the different competitions, but I've never heard of the World Transplant Games. And I'm seeing the story here about Pat O'Sullivan and Hugh Nolan. I've never even heard that. I didn't know this existed.
Well, you're about to hear a lot about this, because in the last hour or so, we received news that Pat O'Sullivan and Hugh Nolan actually struck gold in the golf singles, or is it the golf pairs? One of those.
One of them anyway, yeah.
Golf pairs, yeah, the golf pairs, it must be. So, but this is really a story of friendship. So we're hearing a lot on social media about friendship goals, but before Taylor Swift and Selena Gomez or Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, there was Pat O'Sullivan and Hugh Nolan from North Cork. So they're in the transplant games, they're best friends, and this is just one in a string of adventures they've been on. So Pat spoke to us in 2016 about being one of three best friends living there. He was one of three best friends living in the same area who had their prayers answered for kidney transplants all at the same time. They were best friends who just happened to be waiting for kidney transplants. Now, Pat O'Sullivan, Hugh Nolan, and John Hurley, it all started with one of those GA lottery tickets. You know those GA club
I do know tickets. Them, yes, yeah.
So they had their names written on the back of it, and they said, let's see now, this might be the start of their good luck. So they won a significant amount of money in that, and they said, oh, this is a start now, one of us will get a kidney transplant. Would you believe in a matter of weeks, the first one, I think it was Hugh, got called to say a transplant had become available. Then Pat got the call to say that his transplant had become available, and later their friend John. So they just can't get over the good luck they've had in the last number of years. They said that it all started with that GA lottery ticket.
And I didn't even know about the transplant games. I'm assuming every competitor in the transplant games has to be somebody who's had a transplant.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I've never heard of it before.
Yeah.
It's a great idea, but I've never heard of it before. And but I'm looking at this one here, but this couldn't be real. This has to be fake. A Cork performance troupe are conducting a live autopsy this Friday. Now, I remember going back many, many years ago. There was Channel 4 did this TV show where they had live autopsies, and there was absolute murder over it. There was controversy surrounding the whole thing of why you would even put that on TV. But this is a live production.
Yeah, when you say live autopsy, it nearly sounds like a contradiction in terms.
Well, yes, of course, unless he suddenly gets up in the middle of it, or she.
Yeah, so, this performance troupe can't be accused, one thing anyway, the performance troupe can't be accused of is not giving their audiences value for money. So this is, I'm hoping this is staged, else it's not something I'd really like to be promoting. But so it's a 24-hour production. And while one of the props in this might be a soft toy central to it, I wouldn't let the teddy bear fool you. This is performance art that's not exactly for the faint-hearted.
Are they going to be dancing around with like bits of body in their hand and pumping hearts and stuff?
I'd like to see, it looks cool. So they're going to be, the medical experiment is going to involve a person and a teddy bear, and they're going to transplant their audience, or transplant their, what am I saying? I'm getting very mixed up altogether. They're going to transplant the organs into the teddy bear and see if the teddy bear comes to life.
And being a performance, it probably will come to life, I imagine, by the end of it.
And it's 24 hours, 24 hours long. There's going to be 12 performers, and it's Bold Productions. The name is Dr. Goldberg's Travelling Playhouse.
I don't know if I could stick it for 24 hours now. I don't know about you, but I don't, even with a movie, some of the latest Marvel movies are 3 hours long, and that takes a while to keep my attention. So I don't know about 24 hours. But in saying that, I'm sure people can pop in and out of it at any time.
And they said that they're not going to break character for 24 hours, that even if there's nobody there, for 6 hours, they're just going to keep performing to the mice or
to themselves or the teddy bear.
Absolutely.
Another performance there, the Cork Public Museum is urging people cleaning out old attics to get in contact with them. Now, what are they looking for?
You see, that's the thing. A lot of people have stuff in their attics and they think, my granddad wasn't Michael Collins, or my granddad wasn't one of the big shots, so this won't be of any value to anyone. But you'd be really, really surprised. So I took a trip to that museum just the other day, and the stories I came across there were absolutely fascinating. So they've really helped in filling in the gaps in terms of Cumann na mBan, their history. So most people would be familiar with the Apple TV show Bad Sisters. Well, let me tell you that the ultimate Bad Sisters came from Cork, and up till now went largely under the radar. So I'm talking about May and Lil Conlon. So I was really lucky because I got to see the Cumann na mBan collection, and would you believe this all was formed out of the contents of somebody's attic.
Somatic.
So, yeah, there's fascinating letters exchanged between the sisters during Lil's prison stay, and they take pride of place in the museum. Now, Lil ended up in prison because she was giving out leaflets, and they were full of, they were considered propaganda at the time, and they're basically saying, I think it was just in black and white, the British are killing children, and she was distributing these leaflets.
I don't know what's in your attic, by the way. Well, I mean, I know I went up to when my father passed away, and before the house was being sold, my father's house, going back 7 or 8 years ago, I remember going up and clearing out the attic, and I found all my old school reports from the age, so my mother and father had obviously saved them all from the ages of 4 or 5 years of age. I have to say, I was a good little boy in school, but the one thing that was on the bottom of all my reports was, Niall is a good learner and does really well in class, but please tell him to shut up. So it looks like nothing has changed.
Did they really say that?
Yeah, they said I talk too much.
If I was to hand in what's in my attic, I'd probably end up just handing them over a dead mouse or something. God knows what's in my attic. But
how old is your attic? But is it your attic or is it your mum and dad's attic now? How old is your attic?
You know what? I'm waiting to, because we're getting the keys to our house in 2 weeks. So when I talk about the attic there, I'm talking about my mum's attic. But I did look around for something interesting. So, my granddad served in the Congo, so I found a postcard that was written to my mum.
Okay.
And it was all about look after your siblings, and I'll get you that watch you wanted, this kind of thing. And he'd actually been shot in the neck. Would you believe?
Your dad wasn't one of the ones, or your granddad wasn't in Jadaville, was he?
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
Because there's that whole book about the Irish soldiers that went to the Congo.
Yeah, he was an Irish soldier that went to the Congo. I told myself that I wouldn't bring it up because you'd ask me questions about the Congo and I wouldn't know the answer. So,
well, I interviewed, if it was any consolation, I did interview, going back some time ago, 3 or 4 sons and daughters, I think it was, of fathers who had been in Jadaville in the Congo. It's an amazing story, by the way, if you ever get a chance to read it, and you should, because it's your grandfather. So, but it is an amazing story how a small amount of Irish soldiers held off all of the enemy. It was an incredible story. Anyway, West Cork estate agent is being targeted with some serious and bizarre attempts to undermine their business. Now, I have no idea where this is going, but you're going to tell me.
This is a strange one. It's a West Cork estate agent. He had 8 of its. They had 8 of their for sale signs ripped from their posts and dumped over a cliff in Dunmanway. So
Right.
That was last weekend. That's this story from Emma Connolly in the Southern Star. So that's in James Lyons O'Keefe. So that might sound like a one-off or maybe a prank, but this seems to be happening for 2 or 3 years, and they're saying that it's costing the business thousands. There have been so many little things like that have happened. They don't go into it in too much detail, but when you think of one single weekend, they saw every one of their for sale and sale agreed signs between Ballydehob and the Mizzen ripped out. That's somebody.
Somebody's motivated to do that. That's that. Yeah, somebody's motivated to do that.
I'm just jealous of the time these people have. They have all this time to put into channel their focus into something else. Yeah.
Well, look, a Cork crime prevention officer, Brian McSweeney, is warning of an increase in rental scams. Now, of course, there's desperation out there because we all know that the cost of renting is spiralling out of control, and there is quite a lot of scams out there. I've heard 1 or 2 more recently but the most ironic or bizarre one that I ever heard was some guy is looking for a woman to share a bed for €400.
Oh, that's an Anne Murphy story for sure from the Irish Examiner. Yeah. That was bizarre.
Okay, so this one, Brian McSweeney. So what does he say? What other scams are out there?
Okay, well, how disappointed would you be if you finally got the keys to your house and you said, oh, I have a place to rent now. You went to the house, realised the keys didn't work. Why didn't the keys work?
Wasn't your house.
They were fake keys.
And it wasn't even theirs to rent in the first place.
No. So Brian McSweeney is just telling us, basically, he's saying that the desperation has become like the gravy for scam artists. And just basically Cork has become a playground for con artists because they prey on desperation, and we're all just so desperate to get houses. And this isn't the only case. There's been people who have actually knocked on the door of the house to when it's been up for rent, and the person inside has said, no, I know nothing of what you're talking about, which is actually very unsettling.
I am sniggering here, by the way, but it's not actually funny if you're desperate and you're looking for somewhere to live and you've just handed over a booking deposit.
Oh, it's the most awful thing in the world. I just wonder, where do these people get
But
off.
here's the thing.
There's so many of them.
But here's the thing. Sarah, would you hand over a booking deposit if you'd never set foot in the place?
Well, no, but some people are very vulnerable.
I know,
some
yeah, I
people
suppose
are
they are.
young, do you know?
Yeah, they're
And
desperate.
So, yeah, it depends. There's some people. There's no black and white. Really, is there? There's always grey. And when you're talking about old, like they're old, you find people who are much older now who are having to downsize and everything else. And
yeah, I remember a mate of mine many years
the
ago.
one
He's long since dead, but he was an awful chancer. And he went to another friend of ours one night and said, "Can I borrow a loan of your car?" He said, "I'm heading away tomorrow." You know, he was going over to find his girlfriend in Lanzarote who would run off on him. But he said, "Can I borrow your car?" He said, yeah, take a loan over there. And he went off and he sold the car and got on the plane the next day and went off to Lanzarote. He sold his friend's car. Now, clearly the guards had to get involved and get it back for him, but he actually sold his friend's car the night before. For cash.
You nearly have to catch yourself sometimes because you almost admire these people. It's weird. It's impressive in a
I see, I
weird
couldn't
way,
do something
but
like that. The sweat would be
disgusting and everything
teeming
else.
from my head if I was doing something like that. They'd know I was a scam artist. I just wouldn't get away
think,
with
but
it.
I think that's why we trust people, though, isn't it? Because we think that everybody thinks the same way we do, and we think that everyone's experience is the same. And but
Clearly not.
they are out there, aren't they?
Oh, they are indeed. Sarah, lovely catching up with you again. Some great stories again this week. When I say great stories, some of them are sad, some of them are lighthearted, but it's lovely to catch a roundup of some of those local stories. And listen, thank you very much indeed for joining us again tonight.
Thank you.
Real people, real opinions, real talk radio. The multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.